You know I'm right. The podcast that uncovers the origin stories of some of the biggest names in sports, wrestling, media, reality TV, entertainment, entrepreneurship, and so much more. Nick Durst here along with Joe Calabrese. And Joe, we're excited for our guest today, someone from the tri-state just like us. So she'll get our language. We'll talk with our hands. It'll be great.
For anybody who knows us, we have been huge pro wrestling fans since we were very, very young. But our guest today, not only could you have seen her on WWE TV, she's a Jersey girl. We love Jersey girls here, and we welcome Kacy Catanzaro to the show. Kacy, how are you doing?
Thank you, guys. I'm amazing. This is so fun. Thank you for having me.
All right, so Kacy, let's take it back to pre-American Ninja Warrior when that became a thing. What were you doing? What was your life like?
Okay, so I grew up doing gymnastics from a very young age. I was like 4 or 5 years old in the classes, and I had been playing soccer and gymnastics, and then I kind of had to choose, like, either do them both not that well or choose one, and I chose gymnastics. Never went back. I did gymnastics for about 18 years, all the way through college, and then actually I had graduated college. I had surgery on my ankle from gymnastics, so I was, like, laying on my couch with my foot up, kind of having, like, a quarter-life crisis of, like, I've only ever done gymnastics. What am I going to do now? And American Ninja Warrior was on TV, and I loved watching it. So I'm sitting there with my cast on. I'm watching the show, and they just keep saying over and over again, no woman's ever completed the course. Every time a girl stood up, they were like, no woman's ever done it. No woman's ever done it. And I'm sitting there with my cast like, wow, I kind of want to try this. Like, you know, gymnastics kind of gives you the balance and the strength. And I was like, man, I kind of really want to try this. And, you know, back then it wasn't quite as popular yet. So when I went to sign up, you know, they were looking for women, so I was able to get my shot to try out for that.
Wow. So how do you train for that? How do you train for that first time you're going to do the competition?
So it's funny because back then there weren't all the ninja gyms that there are now. Like now there's so many amazing places. A lot of the ninjas have their own spots. Back then you kind of didn't. So we did a lot of like all different training, like, you know, gymnastics, body weight style training is really good. I did parkour training. We did rock climbing training, kind of like a little bit of everything, but mostly upper body, mostly grip strength were all the ones like to really focus on.
All right. So you're going on the show. Obviously, you know the success you had. You completed the course first time ever. But before we talk about that, just talk to us what it was like being there on that set. Was it a long day? Obviously, how do you stay loose to get ready? Because you're only doing the course for like, you know, a minute or two.
Yes, actually, that's a really good question. I don't like not a lot of people think of it because you just watch it on TV and it goes by so quick. But I remember my first season, I was so nervous because I had never been like on a big scale, like TV like that. So I'm nervous all day. We get there probably at like 3 o'clock maybe we had to get there, but they couldn't film until it was like pitch like dark out. So we kind of waited around. We ate. We got ready. We had to like walk through where they tell you all the rules and you look at the course for the first time. Like you see what the obstacles are and they tell you all the rules. But they don't start filming till like 9 or 10 p.m.
You don't get to test the course.
No, you don't get to touch it. They have someone else like a tester run through it and tell you like you can't touch here, you can't do this. You get to watch someone else do it and like ask questions of like what's allowed. And then after that, they start filming. They start letting us run around like 9 or 10 when it's dark. And then sometimes it's until sunrise. Like they get as many people in until sun. There were times when we were filming and they had a few people left and they're like, we need to, like, the sun is going to rise. So you definitely, it's like a marathon. It's like all day. You don't know exactly when you're going to run. You're having to eat. You're having to stay warm, stay loose. Like, all right,
Kacy, you're out.
Yeah. They have like a little ninja area where we can like warm up. They had like a bar and some little things. You can do some exercises and like stay loose, but it's definitely like a physical and mental marathon of like, you're nervous all night. You have to be ready all night. And it's literally for like, could be a 10-second or could be like a 2-minute.
What do you eat beforehand?
Oh my gosh. That's hard. That's a hard question. I feel like I used to bring my own, like they would give us like kind of like lunch boxes and things like that. But I feel like I would bring my own special little things because I was so nervous to like eat too much, but I didn't want to be weak. So I would always bring like just like little carb stuff, whether it was like the little apple sauces or like something with some good protein, like peanut butter and banana, something small, but like with a little bit of like substance so that I could get through. But yeah, it was a wild ride.
So Joe, how do you think you would do?
I don't know if I would do great. I think it depends on, because it's like an obstacle course kind of setting, right? So for some obstacles you would do better. You know, for me, I don't know. I think I would really have to start training. For you, you are incredibly physically fit. So let's talk about your routine every single day. You know, how do you stay physically fit? What are you eating? What are you drinking?
So I feel like it's changed a lot over my journey, where when I was doing Ninja, a lot of my training was more body weight functional fitness training, because I needed to be like light and quick and be able to do as many pull-ups and whatever. So I did more body weight functional training. Then when I got into wrestling, I wanted to like put a little strength on, put a little weight on, so I was doing more like weightlifting, more strength training type stuff. And now in my transition, I'm kind of doing a little bit of both, just where like my body feels best, where like I like keeping up with the functional fitness stuff. I always want to be able to do push-ups, pull-ups, things like that, and just feel like good and strong in my body. But I am starting to enjoy more of the like weightlifting, strength training type stuff. So right now I kind of do a mix of both, and just like in a little transition of just figuring out what feels good,
What was your specialty in gymnastics?
In gymnastics, I was a bars and beam girl.
You think you could still pull it off on the bars and beam if you got back on there or not?
Maybe. It depends. Like, I'm sure with some practice, I could maybe do like a cartwheel again or something. I would need to practice on the low beam, on the low one, but with some training, yes.
All right, so you win American Ninja Warrior as far as you complete the course, first woman ever. How insane was that, and how much did your life change, and how quickly did it change after that?
It's really funny, actually, because so when I completed the course, it's pre-filmed.
Right, some months later.
Yeah, so it's very pre-filmed. So obviously the crew and the ninjas that were there knew that it happened. So in the moment of doing it, I knew that it was a very big moment. Like, they had talked about, no woman had completed it. I definitely felt it from the people there, but I had no idea, like, when it aired months later, how much the world would care, because it's kind of like, like when you
on Twitter.
when like you have wrestling fans, right? And then like something big happens in wrestling, you're like, okay, someone who's not a wrestling fan probably might not know. So I kind of felt the same way. I'm like, cool, the Ninja Warrior people will think this is really cool.
Ninja Warrior.
You might not know or care.
It was all over like the news outlets.
Yeah, so I was prepared for the ninja community to be like, cool, someone has done it. I was not prepared for like the actual world to care so much. So it was like, I had kind of already done it, and like months had passed. And then when it aired, I was not prepared that like everybody would care. It was actually like a dream come true just to see, because I love doing stuff to, inspire people. So in that moment, like, I was able to say, like, no matter what you think is holding you back, it doesn't have to be a ninja. It doesn't have to be something specific. Someone thinks you're too short, or you're too tall, or because you're a girl, or because you're a guy, like, whatever it is, like, you were able to do it, So that was like really cool to just see how many people actually were able to resonate with it. And it was really beautiful.
All right, so not too long after, WWE comes knocking, right?
Yes.
So initial reaction, like, we're like, me wrestling, or you're like, let's do it?
My initial reaction was like, me? Really? Like, they wanted me to be on Tough Enough, actually. So yes, they had called me to be on Tough Enough, and I was like, oh, what is it? Like, and the winner gets a contract. So at the time, Ninja Warrior is technically like a reality show, so I wouldn't have been able to do Tough Enough as well. And, so they said, okay, I was like, I'm not ready to leave. I'm still doing Ninja. They came back the next year, and they were like, hey, has anything changed? Are you ready to do, I was still in the contract with Ninja, and they were like, well, you don't have to do the reality show. Do you want to just come to the Performance Center and see what it's like? They were doing the Mae Young Classic. So they were kind of like, we see what you're doing for women in your sport, and we're kind of doing something similar. We'd like for you to check it out. We think you could be cool for it. So I went and visited, saw the first Mae Young Classic, was able to watch it, and then was in the second one a year later. Yeah.
So talk about, the first time you were stepping down there in the Performance Center to train. What's it like? Because obviously you're physically gifted, but there's really nothing that can prepare you for the wrestling, right?
I had watched wrestling growing up, but you just really never know until you're in it, and nobody knows the behind the scenes, So I remember getting there, and people knew, I had come from ninja and gymnastics. So like when you're there, they're like, oh, cool, you could do a moonsault easy, you could do this easy. And I'm like, oh, like, let's go play around in this, which is all cool. But like to be able to see the actual like deep down wrestling of it was so new to me. So I remember it being really tough, like taking bumps, doing like hitting the ropes, doing all that, and being like, man, this is tough. But I was kind of in a transition at that point with Ninja Warrior, where I had done it for 5 seasons. I kind of felt like I had done all that I could really maybe there. And I was like, man, do I need a new challenge now? Same how I had felt from gymnastics to ninja. I was kind of like, oh, do I need a new challenge now? And they kind of were able to swoop me up with that. Yeah.
Joe, can you tell that she exceeded in the promo classes?
Oh, absolutely.
No, definitely not.
No? You seem very well trained.
Oh, thank you.
I was going to say the training that it took to do pro wrestling at first, did it take a little extra toll on your body?
More than a little, yes, definitely. And I think especially, coming from me being smaller, people's advice when I got there were definitely like, you need to put some weight on because it's going to hurt so much more when you hit stuff, when you hit that. And then also being smaller, which I loved being able to be that person for people, but being smaller, they're like, oh my God, I can do this with you that I can't do with anybody else. Yeah. And I'm like, cool, I want to do it. And then it's me like landing on just getting chucked out of the ring on the floor, like whatever fun, crazy stuff. But I think it definitely took a toll on me just being smaller.
Did you hear it? The jersey came out of her.
So how difficult
Very
was
rare.
it for you to talk in the mic and stuff and do those promos?
For me, I remember originally, I think from Ninja Warrior, I had the experience like interviewing, like this, but it was always me. I'm being me. So when I'm interviewing for Ninja or in a promo, when they interview you, when it's like the announcer or something, I definitely felt more comfortable. Like I didn't mind being on camera and chatting. Yeah. It was more like kind of getting out of your comfort zone, finding like the different characters in someone else's words. Yeah. And then I think the beauty in that is like the sweet spot is trying to turn whatever they give you into like your own words, even if it wouldn't be, just to make yourself like feel like that. So it was a hard transition, but it was definitely fun, especially, to say things I would never say in real life or to do things I would never, you get to just like curse somebody out. I'd never do that in real life. But
so obviously wrestling fans can be crazy to a band level, but let's talk about, there was some controversy. Obviously you come in with a name, your name.
Oh,
your name gets changed. How do you feel about that? Because they brought you in to capitalize on your name, and they wanted to change.
That's so funny because when I came in, I didn't know they wanted to keep my name at first, so I came in being like, oh my God, I get to be a character. This is so cool. Then they were like, no, we want you to be you. And I'm like, okay. Then it was kind of tough because it was like, we want you to be you, but like this way. So then it was like, oh, I'm kind of like portraying myself, but I don't really get to be so then when I would get promos, I'd be like, man, I wouldn't say this, but it's not me, but they kind of want me to be me. So like that was tougher than being like a character and like, who cares what I say? I'm a character. So I don't know. It was like a weird mind game, but when I got to keep my name, I did end up loving it. And then like 4 years later, they were like, okay, we're going to change your name. And I was like, what? So then I tried to like, they let me give, some options, and I wanted to keep my initials the same because my name and my initials are both KC.
Right.
So I was like, all right, if I can at least keep my name and my initials the same. And then they were like, we kind of need like a cooler name because now that like you've been you for so long, you can't just like, I'm going to use my sister's name so nobody gets offended. You can't just like be Jess now, like just a random name that, So I was like, all right, how do we have something that like sounds kind of different, but I can keep the K. And so I was just like searching K names and what sounded cool, but people were definitely not happy about it. I was like, all right, whatever. I'm bummed, but it's fine. People were like pissed that you changed.
Well, Joe, obviously we're a good tag team.
We are a good tag team.
We've never been tag team champs.
No, we have never been the women's tag team champions before.
There's no time for that.
There's still, you never know. Never say never.
Talk about your experience being in NXT, and then you transitioned to the main roster, and then shortly after you ended up becoming the women's tag team champions. So how was it transitioning from just working here in Orlando and then starting to be on the road?
It was definitely a big transition from NXT to the main roster. And, NXT is very busy and tough in its own capacity. When I was there, we were doing like Thursday, Friday, Saturday live events all over Florida, at the PC every day, TV every Tuesday. Like it was definitely busy, but there's just something about like you still come home to your house every night that makes it like less stressful, So I was used to the fast pace, but moving up to the main roster and like being on the road every single week, it just adds a new dynamic, So like it was tough, but it was really cool because I feel like, all that work in NXT, you're like, okay, this is what I'm trying to get to, So it was really fun. It was tough. It was really cool when we did get to have a title run up there. We had our title run in NXT, which was a very big build, and it was really cool to get there. So being able to have them on the main roster as well, like we were very happy.
Who came up with your entrance with the shooting the?
I want to say that I know that Lacey originally had wanted to pitch the kind of rave idea.
Okay.
So we were trying to figure out like how can we make that work and how do we make that an actual like character in it, which was tough, honestly.
Jersey Roots.
But we tried different. Yeah, we tried like streamers where like they would be like kind of like pop streamers where you would like throw them and they would like make streamers, but they stayed connected to us because they didn't want anything that was like a mess. So we tried those. Then Lacey had brought up these cryo guns, and we were like, okay, can we get ones that they can travel with? So then we ended up transitioning into the guns with some lights, and so it was fun. People really liked it, so it was really fun. Good photos too from it.
Very, very entertaining for sure. Last thing here from me, in your life or your career or anything with Ninja or WWE, what has been your I'm right moment? What I mean by that, a time or place where you wanted to pursue something, you asked somebody for advice, that person said, Kacy, bad idea, don't do it, not going to work. You said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. And in the end, you will see why it is that I'm right about this. And I can tell you, I told you so.
Ooh, wow, I really like that. Okay, I think it's going to have to be, I have my moment, but let me make sure that I want to go with that one.
Okay, fair enough.
I think this is what resonates the most with that. Okay, let's see if this works. So, my very first season on American Ninja Warrior, I came out after I had watched, and they said, like, no woman had ever completed it. I come out, there's basically, I believe there's 6 obstacles, and the 6th one is the warped wall. So, no woman had made it up the warped wall. So I do my first season, and I make it to the 5th obstacle right before the warp wall, and I fall on that one. Just a little mistake, fell. And I was bummed because I came in being like, okay, I want to complete the course, And I wish that I could remember who it was and say thank you to them. But a guy who had competed, I was talking, and I was like, man, I'm so bummed. Like, I went down. I really wanted to complete it. And he said, you shouldn't be bummed. You did really well for a girl. Basically, like, the girls never finish. So you went far for what the girls did. Like, you shouldn't be bummed, And I'm like, well, no, like, I wanted to do great and finish it, And I remember thinking in that moment, like, I'm going to come back next year and I'm going to do it. Whereas, like, I could have just been like, okay, cool, you're right. I did fine for the girls. Like, I'm happy with that, Like, I don't need to push it. And I remember in that moment, it just kind of lit the fire. And I was like, you know what? No, I'm just going to come back and I'm going to do great, period. That's it. And came back the next season and completed the course. So I feel like does that work? That works.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd be like, that was definitely the moment. And I wish I could remember who it was because I tell this story. And if it was you, come back and tell me that you were the one, and I want to say thank you.
Well, Kacy, we appreciate having you on. Last question from me.
Yes.
So throughout the history of the Royal Rumble, we know Kofi Kingston has had some of the greatest spots. However, what gets lost in the shuffle is, I think, your particular spot at the Royal Rumble, honestly, probably much more difficult to pull off.
Did you rehearse that?
Did you rehearse that, and who pitched that? Did you pitch that, or did somebody suggest that to you?
Yeah, well, first of all, love Kofi. Kofi and Naomi are definitely like my inspirations for the Rumble. So I love watching them. They definitely inspired that moment. So the thing is, if you look at the ring posts on the main roster compared to NXT's are much the smaller circular ones, and the main roster are the LED like triangles. So whenever I would do stuff on the main roster and they would think of my entrance where I climb the pole, they would want something similar. And I would have to be like, I can't do that on those, So when we had been talking about they wanted to put me in the Rumble, could I do a cool moment? And I was like, yeah, definitely. They're like, can you do something and climb the pole? And I was like, in my head, I'm like, I can't climb the pole like that. But I had seen some handstand things. I tried to like handstand and then like put my feet under the rope. And then I was like, oh, I wonder if I can like handstand and then wrap myself around the pole because it's thick enough. And then so I kind of just had messed with it, done the handstand, was able to like do the sit up from there and pull up. So it was kind of like, because the thing I wanted to do didn't work, what can I makeshift work? And it just kind of like came to be and it worked out. And I'm really grateful for it because that was like in 2019. That was like 6-7 years, like a long time ago.
Before the world
yeah,
changed.
a long time ago. And people still to this day that meet me, like in all of my wrestling, they're like, your Rumble moment was so cool. I'm like, thank you. You know, it's cool to have like a good moment that people enjoyed.
Well, we'll live on forever. And again, no disrespect to the great Kofi Kingston.
We love him.
Or Naomi.
Kofi and Naomi come with us to talk about their moments.
Yes.
That's good. But we thank you, Kacy, for doing this with us on short notice.
Guys.
We really, really appreciate it. We love having a Jersey girl on.
Yes, it was so fun. Thank you, guys.
So once again, we're here in Orlando. We're here at the Over the Edge Celebrity Weekend event. Got to meet Kacy. Got to do a bunch of other interviews. Kacy, been great. Last thing from us is we always give our guests the last word. So if there's anything else you would personally like to share or promote, by all means, go ahead. And where can we find you?
Oh, well, thank you, guys. It has been so fun chatting with you. You can find me on all social media just at Kacy Catanzaro. And just thank you guys for watching and caring about my journey. The people who have been with me from the beginning or are just getting here now, I appreciate you.
All right, Kacy, thank you for your time. Best of luck with everything moving forward here. That's going to do it here for this episode of You Know I'm Right. For our special guest, Kacy, my co-host, Joe, I'm Nick, and this has been You Know I'm Right.